The Steps Hip Spica Care DVD is made for parents and carers of children in hip spica cast. They are a series of mini videos which cover aspects of looking after a child in a cast. The videos are examples of how real families coped with everyday tasks of looking after a child in a hip spica. They are not meant to be fully comprehensive and cannot tell you everything you will need to know about hip spica care, but hopefully they will reassure you that solutions can be found to many practical problems. Remember that it is best to contact your healthcare professional if you have a problem you cannot solve. Parents, carers and healthcare professionals have reviewed these videos. You can't make the day of operation an easy day. It's something you just have to get through.
I've got the most fantastic distraction at the moment of a 4-month-old baby. So, you know, having to feed him and feed ourselves. I took a nice lunch in for us. We had a nice packed lunch together up on the ward whilst we were waiting. Thankfully it was a nice day, so we went off for a walk. We told the nursing staff that we were just going off for about an hour, and we went for a walk around the hospital, and we found a nice quiet garden within the hospital where we just sat for 20 minutes and just sat and chatted, really. I mean, we tend to sort of talk about things that aren't to do with the operation of the plaster and take our minds off it. So we actually had a chat about, I think we were talking about what we were doing this time last year, which was sitting in a really nice holiday villa in Italy. And, you know, we're just sort of comparing what we're doing now. We're sitting in a hospital ground. But you know, it was a case of just having a conversation to distract ourselves. And by the time we got back to the ward and had our lunch, and I had to sort Dylan out with his feet, that the time had gone. But I think it's very important to try and not get too focused on what are they doing in theatre or how long are they going to be. We had been told by the nursing staff that she'd be down for between 3 and 3.5 hours, or 2.5 to 3 hours I think it was, and she was actually down there for just over 4 hours. And I think if we'd have got too worked up about how long she's been there, we might have started getting worried about has something gone wrong. And I mean, as it transpired, it was just due to problems that they couldn't get the epidural in for her pain first time round, and that had added extra time on. But thankfully, with some medical background, it was a case that we just distracted ourselves and thought there's no point worrying. You know, they say 3 hours, but that does not mean if they take longer than 3 hours that anything's going wrong. And they don't want to bring you down after the operation too soon before they've come round, because they are quite distraught when they come round from the anaesthetic sometimes. So, you know, they do wait an appropriate length of time before they bring mum and dad in to see the little one. So don't be worried if things last longer than you expect. And also, we didn't sit by her bedside. We went and sat in the parents' room because it was quite upsetting to be at her bedside, because her bed had been taken down to theatre, and so there was just this empty space where Bethan should have been. And it was quite upsetting when you went in, because I arrived on the ward after she'd gone down to theatre, because she went down quite early in the morning. And I arrived, and it was funny her not being there, because she'd been there the night before, and there wasn't any bed, there wasn't an empty bed, there was just emptiness. And so we decided that it was psychologically much better for us to go and sit in a different place. So we went and sat in the parents' room, and we had our lunch, cup of coffee, and as I said, we went for an hour or so for a walk off around the hospital grounds. I must admit that the one thing that I found quite upsetting was when she came back after her operation. There's all this build-up, you do all this talk, and you think, well, at the end of the day, how's she going to react? And she came back from the anaesthetic room, because Matt had taken her down. I thought it was only fair that he go and pick her up, because I didn't want her to be confused. Why was mummy and baby Dylan suddenly there to pick me up? So he went and picked her up and walked back from theatre with her, with the support staff. And they brought her back to the ward, and that first hour was just really traumatising. There's no easy way to put it. She was coming round from the anaesthetic, and you forget how bad you can feel. And I've never had an anaesthetic that I can remember, but it was trying to just think, you know, she's whingy, she was obviously in discomfort. And the first thing she said was, "Mummy, I want to come and sit on your knee." And, you know, you think, oh, I've done all that work to explain that we can't pick her up and she can't do some of the things that she's been used to doing. And it was an absolute heartbreaker to hear her for that first hour, just she didn't know what to do with herself. And we had to really sort of try hard to distract her, so we did some nice quiet books. And in the end, we'd actually downloaded one of her activity rhyme CDs onto Matt's iPod, and we bought her these little child headphones, and we put that on her with the headphones, and she just fell asleep, and that was an absolute blessing. And once she actually woke up, she was fine. But it was really very traumatising seeing her so distressed and not understanding what had happened. And you think, we've done all this work, I thought she was going to be ready for this. And thankfully when she came round, she was. But that first couple of hours was really difficult, and I think both of us were going through this, how's she going to cope? And the reality then hit in of, she might not do as well as we thought she was going to. Thankfully everything's turned out fine, but just be prepared, that first couple of hours is going to be quite difficult, and then they'll surprise you. Kids are incredibly resilient, really are.
Remember, you are not alone. When you want information, advice and support, our helpline team are here to help you. No matter how big or small your concern, please email or telephone our helpline. Get instant access to information 24 hours a day via our website, where you can download our advice leaflets. You can also visit our online chat forum, which provides a fantastic resource of helpful tips and practical advice written by parents who are coping with a child affected by hip dysplasia.